Welcome, everybody, to the Grueling Truths NCAA Football Championship Preview Show. I am your host, Mike Goodpaster. I want to welcome in my co-host, former 1976 Rose Bowl champion, three-time Super Bowl champion, Randy Cross. How you doing, Randy?
I'm doing good. Yeah, go ahead and date me. Now I'm officially older than dirt.
Well, the problem is you're not that much older than me, I don't think, because
Yeah,
I
that's
remember
right.
all that stuff. But I would like to bring up, in
Oh, yeah.
1976, I watched that Rose Bowl as a first grader, so...
Yeah, that was a heck of Archie Griffin and the old Woody Hayes days. It was,
Pete Johnson,
it
Cornelius
was quite the
Green.
game.
Yeah.
Oh, they had an unbelievable amount of talent on that team.
Yeah, but see, I can't stand Ohio State, so that's why I bring it up. That was one of my favorite Rose Bowls ever. But
I love it. Yeah,
especially
it would be a little bit short of truthful to say it was pre-playoff. Back then, you had to win your conference to go play in a bowl game.
Yeah, they actually took good teams to bowl games instead of what you get nowadays.
Yeah, 6-6 didn't do it.
Yeah, Miami of Ohio against Louisiana Lafayette was not that riveting for me. But I did attempt to watch it because it was the only football on, but I fell asleep.
Yeah,
All
I'm
right.
kind of a fan of what Chuck Martin's done at Ohio. That's got to be a hard job.
Yeah.
You have reached the maximum time permitted for recording
your
your
answer
message.
machine's
If
still
you are
on,
satisfied
Randy.
with your message, press 1
Oh,
to
my
listen to your
God.
message. Press 2 to erase and re-record.
Oh,
Press
hell.
3.
How do we hang up on ourselves?
I don't know, but we'll just keep
Are
going.
you still there? You have reached the maximum time
This should
permitted
hang
for
up on its
recording your
own in a minute.
message. If you are satisfied with your message,
doesn't
press
show that
1
it's
to
on
listen
there.
to your message. Press 2 to erase and re-record. Press 3 to send your message with normal delivery. Press 1
Should
to
we
send
press
your
the
message
button to
with
leave you a
urgent
message?
delivery. Press 2.
The good thing is I can edit all that out, so it's not that big a deal.
Are you still there? To send your message with normal delivery, press 1.
Wow.
To send your message with urgent delivery, press 2. Thank you. Your message has been sent. Goodbye.
There we go. We sent a message.
Goodbye.
Now we'll be quiet for a second, then I can edit this out later. All right, so instead of Monday night's Louisiana Lafayette extravaganza, we get to talk about the college football championship game on Monday night. I don't think I've seen too many matchups, maybe USC Texas in 05 or 06, whatever year, between these two teams with the two quarterbacks. I mean, to me, this is the closest thing that college football has had to a 1979 Bird Magic college basketball moment.
Yeah, it really is. It's though you go through, the last 40, 45, 50 years, there have been, several sort of quote unquote game of the centuries with number one versus number two. The way this worked out though with the playoff, I think makes it, extra special, especially considering, these kids have all played 14 games. So they're sneaking up on an NFL season almost now in the college world. So I think it's a great matchup. It's wildly sort of in a lot of people's minds in the favor of LSU. But, I believe, Clemson's got a little bit of something to say about it. It's funny to see that, what are they? LSU's 5.5 point, 6 point favorites.
Yeah.
And if you figure you get 3 points for home, then they're kind of just figuring, because this is a home game, don't be fooled. You figure they're giving them 2.5 to 3 points as a better team. And that's to me pretty crazy. That's kind of their first warning signal that it's going to be a lot closer than people think.
Yeah, the other warning signal to me is just Dabo Swinney is the coach of one team, and you've got a quarterback in Trevor Lawrence that has not lost a college football game yet. I think he's been involved in, 29 in a row. And my question to you is, Joe Burrow looked amazing all season long. He has. If they were both coming out in the NFL draft, which one of the two do you think would go number one?
I think it would kind of come down to how their workouts went and whatnot. But I'll be honest, I think with the accuracy of Burrow, specifically in the intermediate to long passes, and of course he's got some great big receivers, which helps him out pretty good too. But he is very, very accurate on the long ball. He'd probably be Burrow by a hair. I mean, Trevor Lawrence will be the number 1 pick next year. I don't care what anybody does.
Yeah, they're both going to be playing each other, and I figured they'll both be playing each other in the Super Bowl, right, Randy? So, yeah.
Joe
Burrow's a Bengal.
It doesn't always work out. It doesn't always work out like that. Unfortunately, the better players in college go to some of the worst teams. But like you said, maybe it'll be what would it be? Let's see, Bengals Giants Super Bowl.
Well, I'd be fine with that, especially if the Giants are coached by Joe Judge.
Yeah.
Well, I'm pretty sure, wasn't he a writer for Beavis and Butthead?
Yeah, isn't that crazy? Yeah, it's. I first heard that name, I was going, where have I heard that before? And it can't be the same guy.
Nah, I think the guy's name was Mike Judge, because I made that comment on a football show that I did in some city. I don't even remember what it was, a couple days ago. And the guy told me it was Mike Judge, but close enough. All right. When you look at this game, the thing that stands out to me is I think this is by far the best secondary that Joe Burrow has faced with Clemson.
Yeah, it's the best secondary and the best defense. Because, I think what Brett Venables likes to do is either going to play right into Joe Burrow's wheelhouse or it's going to, jam a big old stick in the cogs of his wheelhouse, because he's very, very sort of multifaceted, and it's gonna take all the brain power Burrow has to figure out a lot of those blitzes he's gonna bring.
So, do you think he's gonna blitz Burrow? Because anytime we've seen Burrow blitzed in the past, he has been really successful with it. Do you think that they have to blitz because that's the way they play, or would you expect with 2 weeks in between them to come out with something a little bit different?
Well, yeah, for starters, I think if this was the traditional 7 to 9 days after the semifinal game, I think LSU, it would have been a clear advantage to LSU. I think the extra prep time is to the advantage of Clemson. That and sort of the momentum tends to die down a little bit with this long of a break, as we've already seen over the years. But, yeah, I'd expect Clemson to be Clemson. I mean, I don't think they're going to do anything different. I wouldn't expect LSU to suddenly, do things different passing-wise, not with those receivers, along with Moss as tight end and Elaire out of the backfield, who, not enough people are talking about the 2 weeks that are really going to help this kid out to be full speed for the game. And if he's indeed full speed, that's a huge tool for LSU.
Yeah, and, I mean, you want to talk a little bit about the job that Coach Ed's done at LSU, because I think this is a guy that's been under pressure, people wanting to fire him for the last couple of years, and now all of a sudden they're ready to build a statue to him down there.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Anybody that can find the end of every conversation and every code is "Go Tigers," just has a special spot in my heart. I just get the biggest kick out of how much sort of loyalty this guy has to his players and his staff and everybody else, and how much damn fun he has coaching, and how much fun it must be being around him. He's learned well under guys like, Pete Carroll and others, that the fun part of football can sometimes be the best part of it when it comes to, especially with younger players. And man, he's got these guys who are completely bought into everything he does.
Yeah, and the thing that really impressed me about it was Joe Burrow at the Heisman, where he's breaking down, talking about his coach. And it doesn't seem like we have as many coaches that bring that kind of emotion out of players anymore. Excuse me. And I think that's a huge thing. When players buy in, they're buying in on how much that coach cares about them, not just on the football field, but overall.
Yeah, I agree. It's the sort of Nick Saban detached image comes to mind for a lot of people on college when it comes to college coaches, and to some degree NFL coaches too. Though I think if you sort of gave a lot of the kids coming out of his program, True Serum. They tell you there's a lot of personalized attention when it comes to being a Nick Saban player. But it's a great similarity across the field in this game. I mean, a great similarity, because Dabo has built his whole thing at Alabama, besides the fact that he's recruited just like crazy, toe-to-toe with anybody in the country. He's done it with really a meat and potatoes family, golly gosh, we're all just kind of in here just trying to try as much as we can and all that stuff. And it's been pretty impressive to watch. And when you're around it, it doesn't take long to figure out that this isn't fake. These guys really, really love playing for him, and they love the whole experience of being at Clemson. And, I just think if you listen to what these guys say, about Dabo, you'll really notice the similarities between that speech by Joe Burrow and how the LSU players feel about Orgeron, and the same thing going on across the field with Clemson.
Yeah, and that's what I like about this game so much, because I think you got coaches with the priorities and the right perspective when they're coaching young adults. And I think we miss that anymore in a lot of college sports with a lot of guys. And I'm not going to name any names, but I could probably name those names for a long time.
Yeah.
My question a few weeks ago when looking at this matchup would have been, if LSU has trouble offensively, if Clemson could slow them down a little bit, is the LSU defense good enough to keep them in the game and possibly win them the game? And from off this Georgia and Oklahoma games they just played, I would think the LSU defense has been underrated most of the year.
Yeah, well, they played good against Oklahoma, but, you get an offense that's scoring 7 touchdowns. There's not much room and time for you to be on the field much defensively. Yeah. They did a pretty special job. I think if you want to see them kind of in a different light, you have to look at some of the different games, not so much that one. The Alabama game, a lot of yards, a lot of points. And I could make a pretty strong argument that, the Clemson offense is, I think, a good bit better than the Alabama offense, even with Tua. So, I think we're going to have, there's a reason the over-under is at 69.5 points. They're expecting a 34-31, that type of a thing in this game. And I don't think they're too far off. I'm not expecting anything near to a 63-24 kind of a game.
Well, I think if Clemson wins this game, I think it's going to be because of a big effort by Etienne in the backfield also.
Oh, yeah. Him running, him catching the passes, that's what really got them going in that semifinal game. Besides the fact that, from the line of scrimmage, he was running the ball and that speed, which you could see in the first, handful of runs he had. He was blazing through the line of scrimmage. Now, he only got 3 or 4 yards, but they only needed one more block or one guy being slow to get to the hole to make that huge difference, where suddenly those 3 and 4 yard runs were 13 and 14 and 15 and 20 yards to, suddenly now you're running that little RPO with a dump pass over the middle that goes for a touchdown in that spot that it did. Besides being great game planning, I think they take excellent advantage of the tools that this kid has. And, man, his speed and the way that he's matured and his strength physically makes him a whole different kind of cat to be defending.
Yeah, and Trevor Lawrence's ability to run against Ohio State has to worry LSU coming into this game also, because that gives an extra dimension that Lawrence hadn't really shown all year because he didn't really need to.
Well, yeah, he showed a little more scoots than I think people really expected, because, for all the praise of the Ohio State defensive backfield and the defense in general from a speed standpoint, they weren't catching him. In fact, he was pulling away at times. Yeah. So that was really impressive. And by the same token, it's what has made Joe Burrow's year so unusual, because if you do play man and you do cover well, you have the real reality that, not spying somebody will cost you about 15 or 20 yards, because he's smart enough to see that you're in man and all your backs are turned, and he can really rip off a chunk on you.
So let me ask you this then, as we'll wrap this up, because I've been sick all day. I've done 3 shows, Randy, and I'm having a heck of a time keeping from coughing. So
no worries.
So who do you like in this game? Because to me, this is a complete toss-up.
Yeah, I think it's, closer, like I said, than, that 5.5, 6 points. It's inside of a field goal for me, which makes it kind of a coin toss. But I picked Clemson 2 weeks ago when we did the lead up to these playoffs, because I thought for sure they'd beat Ohio State. And I think Clemson's going to win it all. I think Dabo and company is going to be 30-0. And if you thought he was whining before, wait till you hear him this coming season, because he'll take full advantage of that whole situation. But it's going to be fun. I think Clemson wins it. That does nothing to diminish that great LSU year.
Yeah, I don't know. To tell you the truth, at a game like this, I'm just going to go with whoever I think the better quarterback and the best head coach is. I'm not sure who the better quarterback is, but I think Dabo Swinney's as good as I've ever seen coaching college football, so I'm going to take Clemson by 3 points.
Yeah, I agree, and we're in fairly select company, because there aren't very many people taking Clemson.
Hey, but there wasn't many people picking Clemson against Ohio State. We both picked them, so.
That's true.
Of course,
hopefully we both come out of this pretty smart, and you start feeling a lot better soon.
Oh, it wouldn't take a whole heck of a lot. It's been like this all week. But, Randy, you want to tell everybody about your show that they can hear on thegrizzlytruth.com and on YouTube?
Yeah, I've got the Randy Cross podcast. You get that on Instagram, rcross podcast, and it's under Randy Cross podcast and Twitter and everywhere else. And you can get it at The Grueling Truth. If you're up north of us here, up in our attic in Canada, you can get it up there at Barn Burner Network. It's a lot of fun. All the social platforms have it. And this last week I did an interview, which I thought was pretty good and was pretty interesting, with a guy named Chad Prather, who you might have seen on other YouTube videos. He's kind of the comic cowboy who also mixes in a little politics into his comedy. So we had a really good time. And this coming week, obviously on Monday when we come out, we'll be previewing this wonderful playoff game.
All right, Randy. I want to thank you for coming on. As always, I want to remind everybody you can hear our show wherever you find podcasts, including Spotify, iHeartRadio, iTunes, TuneIn, Spreaker, Stitcher. But for now, for Randy Cross, I'm Mike Goodpaster. You've been listening to The Grueling Truth, where the legends speak.